All right, welcome to Bet the Edge. I'm Jay Croucher here with a revved up Drew Dinsick. Drew, I went to bed at 3/4 time of Lakers Warriors and woken up to find what I missed. And I, for one, welcome our new Lonnie Walker overlords. That was a ridiculous outcome. Thought that game was completely done. We're going to talk about that and the NBA in general, then close out with a little sneak peek at some NFL awards. So let's bring in today's guest, Ken Barkley of You Better You Bet. Ken also has a Substack that we'll get you to plug at the end, Ken. Very good read for anyone who's interested in just betting in general. But Ken, first of all, what did you make of last night's games? And are you ready for Heat Lakers Redux?
Oh man, it feels like we're getting that bubble. I couldn't tell if we were going to get the last year final rematch or the bubble rematch. I couldn't tell. Like a couple weeks ago, I couldn't tell which one it was going to be. Is it going to be Warriors Celtics again, or is it going to be Lakers Heat? It was crazy too. The finalists that bubble season. I think a lot of people have pointed this out are the same finalists that we got this time in the conference finals. Like likely in terms of what we're going to get. And just like I guess the bubble season was more meaningful. I didn't bet the game very much. I had the under. Whale kind of talked me into the under. Going into the series, I was like, oh, every other day when we get late in the series, I should be like banging unders in the series because like the rest is brutal. Whale's a big rest guy, so he knocked some sense into me when he came on the show yesterday. I think we all ended up betting the under. I had the Lakers for a little bit also at 2.5, like a very lucky win, honestly. And I can't believe Curry missed both shots, but he did. And so that was pretty good. I probably unders the rest of the series, but I'm still not sure until Golden State's like dead. I'm not sure they're dead. So like once they're eliminated, I'll believe it, but still think a lot of things are possible in that series.
Yeah, and I mean, I unlike Jay, stayed up for the fourth quarter because I was very concerned we were going to overtime. In which case, I would have thrown a glass at my television and be out shopping for a new television today. But yeah, the under was sweet. The alt unders coming home was good, and the Lakers win was wild. 2 series in a row. Game 4, which was the pivotal game, they managed to come away with wins in just how in the world did they do that fashion? And sometimes you need a little bit of luck if you're going to go on a championship run. And right now, if the Lakers can close this out in 5, which I don't believe, but more likely in 6, then they could even have a rest advantage over a Nuggets team that looks like they may be going the distance all of a sudden. So still a long way away from ruling whoever comes out of this series out of the mix for the finals. But is your confidence in the Warriors at all tied to you think Steph Curry is the best player in this series?
I mean, I do think he's the best player in the series. Like, we'll work the problem in reverse. I don't think this is like some hot take. I think it's like a fun argument. Like, Davis is really good and LeBron's really good and Curry's really good. And at this exact moment, Curry is probably the best player in the series just because of where everyone is in their careers. I think the belief in the Warriors too is just tied to like a not belief in the Lakers. I don't know about you guys. Like I was pretty skeptical of Darvin Ham coming into the series. Not that it had to go badly, not that it was going to be like JB Bickerstaff or something against the Knicks, but that I just like, are they ready for this? Like, is he going to be able to make adjustments that are good? And, I'm not like the guy who's going to watch the film and be like, look at all these intricate things that they're doing. But even just like the decision to ride Lonnie Walker and not reinsert D'Angelo Russell, who, there are some coaches who might have like loyalty to players who start the game, whatever. Even if that was like a really, really small thing and maybe it seems obvious, is JB Bickerstaff putting D'Angelo Russell back in the game? Is Tibbs putting D'Angelo Russell back in the game? Like, just is Joe Mazzulla putting D'Angelo Russell back in the like? These are just the kind of things where you go like, well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and they did that. And so I don't know if he's winning me over necessarily, but the Warriors are, I mean, I'm not going to tell you guys anything you don't already know. Like the most resilient, accomplished group of basketball players of the last 20 years, basically. It's like them and the Spurs and whatever team LeBron plays for. And so until they're just out, I'm going to always kind of think that they're not going to be out. And we're every other day. Again, like we're still every other day. So like, who does that hurt more? Maybe the Lakers have better role players. Like Reeves was really good yesterday and Lonnie Walker was really good yesterday. Maybe that ends up being the difference because of like the fatigue that'll impact the star players. Or maybe Curry's the best conditioned athlete of all time and LeBron and Davis are both really old and injury prone and somebody steps the wrong way tomorrow night and this whole thing pivots really fast. So until they're out, I would never feel this way about most teams down 3-1. Until they're out, I'm always going to kind of believe they have a chance.
Yeah, I think a reckoning is coming for the Lakers.
Oh,
Whether
boy.
that
A
this
reckoning,
round,
Jay. A
yeah, a
reckoning?
reckoning. Which,
Yeah.
it's a proper reckoning. It's going to be
Wow.
religious. It's going to be biblical. It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Lonnie Walker the fourth. Look, I have a big ticket on the Lakers at 20 to 1 to win the title, which was placed at an ill-advised time. It wasn't a good bet at the time, and it's just gotten fortunate to be in this spot now. But I just don't believe in this team at all. Watching them last night, I still don't understand how they won the game. I watched back the fourth quarter this morning.
Mhm.
It's the Warriors missing open layups and threes, and Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves hitting contested mid-range twos, and they just won the game. I think the Warriors are clearly the better team. And with the Lakers, I think the thing with the Lakers is that LeBron James has settled into being like the 14th best player in the league or something at this point. Like, I don't think the difference between LeBron and, say, I don't know, Paul George is like that significant. I think LeBron is better, but I don't think it's that significant. And it all turns on Davis being the best player in the league, which he can be on a given night. Like, his game 3 was the best 25-point performance I've ever seen from anyone. I think he just wrecked that game by himself. But look, they're at the point now where they just need to win 1 of 3. So presumably they will get through this series, but I think they're going to be a pretty significant, they're going to be an underdog to the Nuggets or the Suns. And then I would think they would be an underdog to the Celtics or the Sixers. And I don't think they would be a significant favorite over the Heat, because the Heat would have home court in that series. So I don't believe in the Lakers. Yeah.
Okay, Jay, as soon as you start believing in them, you say so, and I will jump off aggressively. That'll be the sign. That'll be the sign.
Well, Jay, let me ask you a question, Jay, real quick. And Whale, you can answer this too, obviously, too.
Yeah,
just because Jay was just talking about how he kind of sees things playing out. Can you remember getting this late and being like, I have no idea. Maybe you have a really strong opinion on who is going to win the title. Like, market is hard Celtics. Like, they are very likely to win. Now, part of that's just the projected path. Not even that they're like that great, right, but just 2 home games against Philly to go. Then it's Miami, who they'll be a big favorite over, who they played in the conference finals last year. Then who knows out of the West? I just look and I go, I'm definitely not confident in Boston. I don't know who's going to win either Western Conference series, so all 4 of them seem like they're in play. Philadelphia is bizarrely alive and like kind of makes sense, but they still have James Harden and Embiid's hurt and everything. I mean, I just said 6 teams. I mean, basically, it's 7 teams, and basically didn't say the Knicks. Like, what? I mean, if you had to guess, like, are you picking the market? If you just go by the prices, I'd say who wins the title. You'd be like, oh, Boston. Like, Boston wins the title. Do you feel that way? Like, are you that confident as the market is?
The only 2 teams that I'm convinced are definitely good are the Celtics and the Nuggets. And I think the Suns obviously can get good if they get Chris Paul back. Seems like they've figured some things out with their rotation for this series at least, but not convinced the Lakers are that good. Not convinced the Warriors are that good necessarily either. The team that went 44-38 is looking like a team that went 44-38. I think the Heat are what the Heat are, and they'll be a tough out, but they don't really have the ceiling. And then the Sixers just kind of hinges on Joel's health, and I don't think they're as good as the Celtics or the Nuggets. So, no, I don't think there's a clear favorite. I wouldn't be shocked if the Sixers beat the Celtics, but I thought the Celtics, the level they got to defensively in the second half against Philly, that was the defense from last year when they were a historically good defense. And I think that just with their shooting and their offense, I think the Celtics are the best team, probably pretty clearly, but they could absolutely lose to the Sixers. They could lose to the Heat. But what do you think, Drew?
It's gone to head Celtics, and it doesn't feel great because they're getting outcoached so regularly. And, to the point about, Darvin Ham, you're coming around on Darvin Ham, Ken. I guess, I mean, he's coaching based on vibes. Sometimes
good
that
vibes,
works.
though. Those are good vibes.
I just say, like, the distinguishing factor so far for the Lakers, it kind of has been very, very quiet. And I agree. You've gotten some singular performances out of Anthony Davis where he's been the best player in the league. Yes, that's true. But I think even more than that, like, LeBron's kind of on court, like, strategic advantage he's giving you, particularly in end of game, has been very apparent. He had the book on what the Warriors were going to try to do and all of the key kind of offensive sets that really decided that game last night. Like, he had it already figured out. So, his kind of on-court coaching, I think, has gone a little bit under the radar. And, I think the fact that in general, the Heat are playing as a cohesive unit and they're kind of operating with one kind of vision and nobody's making mistakes, like, that's good coaching. And in this muddy of a field where there's this little distinguishing teams, the fact that coaching has mattered as much as it has to this point in the playoffs has been pretty amazing. So with that said, Celtics take on the Sixers tonight. And I got a little wild, got a little squirrely. I've played a little bit of played some alt spreads here with the Celtics.
Yeah, that's not squirrely. Squirrely is like Philadelphia money line. Philadelphia money line.
No. Count me out on Embiid with the quick turnaround, being able to give you 4 quarters of solid defense. Count me out on the Celtics not having better shooting from some of the role players, particularly, if they can get their 3-point shot falling, and if they can in any way put the clamps on Harden early in this game and get him just out of comfort, out of a playmaking ability, then I feel like the Celtics can run away with this one. Do you have a general sense of when series are tied 2-2, game 5? Are there any kind of historical context you can provide to why a favorite may be a decent bet, even at a number like -7, 7.5?
I think it's kind of like how we got to 2-2 also, right? And I think you have to, and this obviously, but you got to consider just the team and kind of what their profile is, like how do they tend to play? And some teams, I feel like that's just like a fool's errand to try to figure out. You try to solve, like, what does this team do? And it's like, actually, they're pretty random and they don't really have anything, but they kind of just show up sometimes. They don't show up sometimes. It's like Anthony Davis. Like, what is each night going to bring? I have no idea. Might be the best player on the court, might, take 4 shots. It could be either one. And there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to whether it's going to be one or whether it's going to be the other. But for whatever reason, man, the Celtics seem to have this like really recognizable pattern, and patterns are really dangerous in sports betting because they can be really random and there can be no explanation, except this one the Celtics talk about all the time. And they always say that, like, which I think you can blame coaching for this, but they always feel like they have to like refocus in certain situations and they like let games get away from them. And then after refocusing, they put on a performance like kind of what Jay describes, maybe the second half of the last game, but also like game 2, for example, of this series where they lose game 1. And I think it's like the last 2 years. Now, granted, this is with Udoka and with Missoula, but it stayed the same. So maybe it's the core group of players. Maybe it's randomness. Man, they're the nuts off of losses. Basically, they just the only two losses they've sustained after losing a game to the Warriors in the finals last year. Other than that, every playoff series, it's just like, all right, they let one get away, and then the defense shows up. I mean, this is game 1, game 2. It's the same handicap. So I don't know if that's worth a reasonable sized bet. At the same time, it's like, okay, I have that. And I have the Embiid fatigue that you described, which is that this is the 3rd game in 5 days. And it's whatever it was, 38, 39 minutes, 4 days ago, and 40 something in the overtime game. And just how can this go okay? Like, how is this going to go okay? It's basically going to have to be winning despite him, probably. Here's a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask, would you be shocked if he didn't play?
No.
He's questionable, and he's always questionable.
I wouldn't be at all.
That's like predictive of what's going to happen. Yeah. That's a ton of mileage. Or maybe it's just he starts, but like if this gets out of reach,
25 minutes, 25 minutes of play. Yeah. So
your alts are kind of the right way to play it. Like which way is this likely to be lopsided away from how the market has the game? I know everyone feels the same way about it, that it's like it's Boston, but I just agree with that. I think it just makes a lot of sense. Small bet on Boston, probably. They're also already a big favorite. I like your thought on the alts. I like betting Embiid unders. I can't see really how this looks great after the last couple games in the mileage.
Yeah, the Harden fatigue element is a thing as well, where he's also dealing with the Achilles thing, which I think is still lingering and certainly seemed to, I mean, he was just a different player in games 2 and 3. In terms of the pattern stuff, I mean, in terms of series context, I've always largely thought that was overrated, but that's informing like the global market where the Suns were 4-point favorites over the Nuggets in game 3.
Yeah.
And game 4 was pick. Like, I just can't have that. I just can't have it.
You can't? You can't have that.
Four points difference based on people guessing around motivation.
Sure.
Like I just can't. 4 points is too much to me. Yeah, one to 2 points, maybe sure, but 4 points is a ton. And but it does inform the market. Just we'll get to Suns Nuggets in a sec, but in saying everything we've said about the East, I think the best bet for the title right now is actually the Heat at 20-1, because I think you just map out the series by series prices. I think they'll be like minus 1,000 now, probably plus 400 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then plus 220 in the finals, just because of the scope for the Lakers being there and the Heat having home court. And obviously you'd have to upgrade their rating if they get out of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think it should be more like 16-1 and it's 20-1. So that's worth a small bet for me. And you're better off just betting Butler Finals MVP because he's about 100%.
But that's funny, Jay, because you were like when we talked about the teams that could win. So I believe you. I'm sure you're right about the pricing. But you were like, 5 minutes ago, you said, I don't think the Heat can ever win. Basically, they're like a tough out. So it's that really funny balance, right? Of, okay, like you run your numbers and it says like the probabilities are this, and this. Yeah. But then you just kind of look and you go, yeah, but like really?
I know. Really? I felt the same way about Milwaukee. I thought Milwaukee were 100% chance to win that series and they lost 4-1.
That's true.
So yeah, I think that the Heat, also you have to project when you're projecting out series by series, like if they get to the finals, they're going to be a better team than you have in your head right now, right? Because they will have had to have beaten Boston or Philadelphia to get there.
Hero might be back.
And they may have Hero.
Feels like a 0% chance that he can win the finals, but it felt like a 0% chance.
Plus, they haven't deployed the secret weapon, Omer Yurtseven, yet. They got him in the back pocket for whenever you need to really unlock the series. Yeah.
All right. Before we get to Suns Nuggets, a reminder to download the RotoWorld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in the App Store today. All right, Suns Nuggets minus 5.5. Just continuing the random prices in this series. Total is 227.5. Nikola Jokic is playing mercifully. Right decision there, clearly. With this one, Ken, I want to get your thoughts because to me it seems highly improbable that a series that could shape the NBA champion is going to be decided by TJ Warren, Terrence Ross, and Landry Shamet. And the fact that Booker had to play at a 12 out of 10 level for them to eke out 2 wins at home makes me think like this one, again, feels like Nuggets by 20, but Booker and Durant obviously cannot be written off. So what's your read on this game?
And to be fair, we didn't think Lakers Warriors would be decided by Lonnie Walker, becoming otherworldly for an entire 7-minute stretch. It feels like that's kind of been the postseason it's been, right? Like the off the radar performances. Even like some of the stars, like James Harden made the 3. Steph Curry missed the shot. Like these are not things that we're accustomed to seeing for the last 10 years of what we know about the players. The side of this game I don't really have a strong opinion on. It strikes me as the kind of series where home court is like the most likely to hold because the benches are so bad that the bench players seem like they can only play well at home because they're such bad players. And in other series, I think yesterday I made the comparison, like Malcolm Brogdon is not a typical bench player. So like Malcolm Brogdon can go on the road and play well, but the types of bench players that these teams are employing are 2 of the worst benches in the league. So like on the road, they are very unlikely to play well as opposed to like seasoned good players. So with that in mind, like I think the Nuggets are very likely to win. So does the market. I like the under in this game. And I think now that we're back on every other day, like remember we had a week off basically for Durant. That's one of the reasons I like the Suns in game 3 so much is Booker and Durant had 5 days to just like chill out and then be absolutely all in to try to win the game. And they still almost didn't cover. But that was like, I think an advantage for them. And if we're going to be every other day, I don't know how I know we had 253 in the last game. I don't know how this level of offense is sustainable running this back over and over and over again now. So I honestly think it might be unders the rest of this series because we're not taking any more breaks and we're traveling. I know that's like a pretty similar opinion to Lakers Warriors, but I think just the brutality of these NBA playoff games, once now that every series is going to be on this track toward the end, I think you could see a lot of low scoring games.
Yeah, that's well said. And I think the only thing you may be sweating is, once the Nuggets get to 127, you just got to make sure the Suns stay under 100.
Right. Possibly. Could play Suns team total under. If you're
Suns team total under is a good one. Because I think you nailed the handicap. Jay's countryman, Jock Landale. He's not
Yeah,
giving you
St. Mary's legend.
St. Mary's legend. He's not giving you double digits tonight. Sorry. Chuck Landale, TJ Warren, Terrence Ross. Yeah, I don't see these guys really delivering on the road in a hostile environment at altitude on short turnaround. So yeah, I think again, laid the favorite here, laid the alts. I went as high as -9.5 here because that was as decent a price as I could get on a big stake. And I think the Nuggets take care of business pretty comfortably, but under is a decent look as well. And I honestly think you can run it back in game 6 and play the Suns and you're going to get basically the same handicap. Like, unless all of a sudden Michael Porter Jr. turns into, an effective road shooter, I don't know that the Nuggets are going to be just some outstanding road team in this series. So Jay, are you with us on Nuggets tonight?
I am. I think as someone who's heavily invested in the Nuggets to win the West, I think they may rue playing with their food in the first half of game 3 before the Suns figured out that they needed to go all shooting and go all offense to win the series, because the Nuggets didn't show up for the first half of that game and then it was too late and they obviously lose it. So now I think we're exposed to them, because the series has been extended, having to potentially play, a game 7 where Chris Paul is back, and then you're subject to the mercy of just Devin Booker going crazy for a given game, and then the dream is over. But hopefully they take care of business tonight, and I suspect they will. All right, every season is draft season. Get your Roto-World Draft Guide bundle today and dominate your football, baseball, and basketball drafts packed with profiles, rankings, projections. Order today and get all 3 Roto-World Draft Guides for the price of 2. Plus use promo code BERRY and save an extra 20% at checkout. All right, NFL awards. Never too early to discuss these markets, which are going to be settled in 10 months or so. But let's get stuck into it. Any singular market or bet that you've got circled, Ken?
Yeah, I try to not go too all in this time of year, right, Jay? To your point,
Sure.
it feels like Mahomes just won MVP and Dable just won Coach of the Year, and all those different markets settled, right? And Geno won Comeback Player. Feels like that literally just happened. And, it's like, what am I trying to get ahead of right now? Like, if I wanted, let's say you look at a market, not really you guys, but maybe the person listening, oh, I love that guy to win MVP, or okay, well, like on August 1st, is it going to be way different? And why is it going to be way different? Is something going to happen? And if that's the case, then by all means, like if you think you're going to get ahead of something happening, please, like a trade that we don't expect or some kind of off the field thing that we don't expect, sure. But this time of year, it's kind of just like, it's pretty quiet. So all I'm really looking for are what I would refer to as like insane prices on things. So like extremely high prices on things that are at least possible, that like kind of make sense. So I think, in the MVP market, if you were trying to price in quote insane prices, it would be like quarterbacks with really big upside that we have no idea whether they're good or not, and they might be dreadful, but they might be awesome. So last year you probably would have bet Tua maybe for that reason, and he ended up actually playing pretty well and they got concussed. Maybe you would have bet Jalen Hurts, because I don't think anybody really thought he was going to win MVP, like that kind of player. So this year, what would that be? That would be like Jordan Love, that would be Sam Howell, that could be Desmond Ridder, that could be like a lot of guys. I know everyone's going to like laugh at those 3 names. You probably would have laughed at Jalen Hurts last year, and you probably would have laughed at Tua last year, and it's the same kind of a thing. So that's that kind of pricing. And then one Coach of the Year bet that I put, again, just what seems to be drifting a little bit too far out to being like the longest shot on the board or the second longest shot on the board. That's like all I'm kind of looking at. I bet Ron Rivera to be the Coach of the Year in the NFL. Not that I think he's going to be, or that he's the most likely coach to win. Just that there are lots of coaches that I think almost have no chance, either because they won too many games last year, or the quarterback will get the credit if they end up like being pretty successful, or that it's really unlikely they're turning their team around, like Arizona or something, for example. But Rivera coaches a team that's been around 500 for a few years. Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, Alex Smith, these have been their quarterbacks. And if Sam Howell is anything, he is a dramatic upgrade over what they've been fielding at the quarterback position. And this is a guy who's won this award twice, who people who vote for the award love. They've sold the franchise. The owner is no longer going to be a part of it. Like, there is a lot going on here where if the team pops, and they don't have to, then I think he's actually alive to win. And there was a 50 out there. He's still one of the longer prices on the board, like I see on the screen right now, like 25, 30. I mean, he's alongside, like, Sean McDermott's not going to win Coach of the Year unless they go 17-0. That's like the only way that he wins the award, right? Like, you look at some of these other names. What does Nick Sirianni have to, like, last year was his Coach of the Year campaign. So again, if we're just putting these candidates alongside each other, there's some names that will stand out more than other names. For me, that was Rivera, and just price shopping, I was able to find something pretty good.
Is there a case to be made for Kyle Shanahan if he gets the 1 seed in the NFC with Sam Darnold under center?
Yeah, or Lance, like in like the Lance reclamation project, in addition to the Darnold reclamation. I just sure any coach that coaches a team that is going to win that many games has some chance, because the crazy records come into play, like what Sirianni was going to do until they lost a couple games and Jalen Hurts got hurt. Like that narrative or that path is always available. The Ravens with Lamar Jackson, when they won 14 games. If you're just that good, then your coach can win sometimes. So that's Shanahan. That's McDermott if they lose 1 game. That's Sirianni. Like they have some chance. It's just, again, like price it out. Go shop. What are the Eagles to lose once this year or something? You see the odds of that are going to be astronomical.
Yeah, better plan.
It's just not going to happen.
Plan. Yeah, so, you can find other ways to capitalize.
Yeah,
on
so Shanahan to me is that, and I know he's the quarterback whisperer, and maybe there's a little extra probability for something like that, but to me, that's kind of it. They just won so many games last year.
Yeah, it's just that there's a disconnect between the price of the Niners to win the NFC, which apparently the market thinks is still very likely, and the fact that it's going to be Sam Darnold under center, which means that ultimately the price of the Niners being that high is because people believe that much in the coach.
And if it is Darnold, like he would also fall into the category of the quarterbacks that we talked about.
Sure.
Like, if you knew it was going to be him, now if Purdy's going to be ready and they're going to kind of alternate, or we don't know what's going to happen, then that makes things unclear. But like if people are laughing when you're saying the name of the quarterback, but we don't actually know whether they're good or not, it probably means it's a pretty good bet, actually, because nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything, but people know for sure if Jordan Love's good or not, or that Sam Howell's good. Nobody has any idea. And it's definitely not priced into the market. Like it's a total guess, and we're guessing too, but when we're right, we get to win a lot of money.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson was 70-1 to win MVP the year he did. I think
great
Mahomes
example.
was 50-1. Matt Ryan was 40-1. So certainly guys come out of nowhere. I think you're right, Ken, with Coach of the Year, the big thing historically is that you need a team that is going to either win a lot of games or make a substantial improvement over the previous year, who doesn't have a superstar quarterback who steals credit the way that Rodgers always stole credit from LaFleur. So I think that's why Shanahan is more live than Andy Reid, for instance, because Reid was never going to win with Mahomes. The bet I made in that market, the price has tanked a little bit, but I bet Matt Eberflus at 20-1, just on the idea that the Bears are like plus 300 to win their division. And if the Bears win their division, I don't think he's plus 400 to win Coach of the Year. I think he's shorter than that because of all the credit that he gets in a big market. Just to close out, the only big bet that I've made across these awards is Patrick Mahomes should just never be plus 700 to win MVP. I think he should just be plus 250 every single year of his prime. I think he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And I just don't think that he should ever be plus 700 until proven otherwise. So that's my big bet at the moment. Ken, thank you so much for joining us, mate. It's always a blast. Can you tell people where to find you and anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on, guys. It's been a little bit. I feel like we'll be talking NBA awards again before we know it, too. Like October next year, Jay will be rolling up with
Bridges most improved player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I do think he will be we don't have time for this. I think he will be the favorite in the market. That would be my guess. Kind of makes sense. Also, Josh Giddey, I kind of have circled potentially.
I like that. My countryman.
We'll see how that goes. Anyway,
that's a nice job.
For more spicy, kind of irrelevant NBA award takes, I'm on You Better You Bet is the show Nick Costos and I host. Wales on it. We got to get Jay on one of these days to talk about some stuff and talk about some awards for sure. Maybe we get around to through the summer to NBA again. 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern. Just search You Bet wherever you find your podcast. You'll find the show. And then I also have a Substack that I write on, less now, but more when sports start again, called The Chalkboard. And a lot of cool stuff there about just like betting concepts and pricing things and futures markets and awards. Because if you've listened to us on the show, you know that we all love awards a lot. Probably too much. Probably, especially Jay and I. And Whale likes some awards too, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Jay's got the answer key to the MLB awards too. You don't have to wait for football.
What's the answer key?
Well, save it for You Better You Bet when you get them.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, I've got some.
There you go.
All right, Ken. Thank you so much, man. Everyone, don't forget to check out NBC Sports EDGE for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks everyone for watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, don't forget to rate and subscribe. From Jay Croucher and Drew Dinsick, thanks again to Ken Barkley. We'll see you soon. Cheers.